Welcome back, friends. I'm Stephen Rathburn. A path or a river will always add interest and depth to a painting. This scene, very close to the Yellowstone River in Montana, has both. In this short video, I'll use oil paint to capture this scene. If you're painting along, there's a link below for a free download of a photo and a sketch you can use to assist your efforts. So let's get started. Okay, let's just review the colors here. Lemon yellow, light red, cadmium red, burnt umber, Payne's gray, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, raw sienna, that's titanium white. Okay, so let's begin by just putting a little bit of white on the canvas here. In this case, it's the board. We want to block out all the major colors within the painting before we get into any detail. I'll mix up just a little bit of color for the sky. Start with white and ultramarine blue. Okay, let's put a little of that in there now. So yes, a person can do this with a brush, but I find that it's just much faster. With a brush, it would take longer. Another area that we can see some of this blue is in water here. So we're just blocking in color right now. Basically an underpainting, if you will. Okay, so now let's mix up some of the other major colors. First of all, we've got kind of a rich orange color, so we'll use some of this cadmium red, lemon yellow. Another color is green, and I've said many times in my videos I don't buy any commercial green. I make the greens with a little bit of Payne's gray and lemon yellow. And then we have several stages of this orange. Some of it's quite yellow, so we'll kind of bring more of the yellow down. We'll put some white in there too. Okay, so now we can begin to block some of these other colors in. And we can start over here on the left. And let's mix up some of this darker color that we want to use for trunks of the trees and the darks on the bank. We'll start with a little bit of Payne's gray and alizarin crimson, which makes a violet color. But in this case, we want to calm that violet down a little bit with some of this burnt umber. And let's just put just a touch of that here and kind of see what color. Oh yeah, that's looking pretty good. Get some of these dark areas in here. And we'll start putting some of this green in some areas. Now we'll get a little color going for these Russian olives right up in here. Start off with some blue. We'll add a little green to that. More white. And some more of this goldish color. A little light red. Just kind of marble it in. Alright, now for the path, we'll just kind of lighten this color up we were using earlier for our darks. And maybe a little slight pinkish. Just add a little, maybe a tiny bit of red in there. So my intention here is to just not have any sharp edges at this point. Kind of blend everything in together. Okay, we're going to add just a little bit now of blue to this. And just bring a little bit of it right across here. Just in a couple places where these shadows are. And we'll take a brush here. And we'll take some of these darker colors. And let's put some of these trees in. And we'll take a rigger. Those are crimson, Payne's gray, burnt umber. Keep it nice and juicy. And we'll take some of these darker colors and put them down in here too. And we'll take a little white. A little more alizarin crimson in there. Put that white right up in here. Mix up a little of this, more of this fall-like type color here. Thin it down a little bit so it stays on the canvas. And we'll start to put a little of that color up in here too. And we're going to take a kind of a stiffer bristle brush here. And we'll take some more reds and put some of those in there too. We need to take another brush here that's clean. Put some of these greens in here also. One more Payne's gray in there. Make it a little deeper with some alizarin crimson. And some reds. And we'll mix up a little deeper shade of orange right here. Reds, yellows. Okay, for the Russian olive, got some whites, blues, greens. And we'll take the white color. And some of the darker colors. And mix some of these greens in here. And we'll get another brush here, a real rough brush, so we don't have to keep washing out brushes. Put a little red in there, and now some green. A little of both mixed in here. A little green, and we'll put some alizarin crimson down here. Let's take some blue. Now some greens. Some more blues. One more blue. As the water comes closer to us, the reflection angle is coming directly from the sky above rather than out in front of us. So as you can see, the blue should get darker as we come closer. Quick strokes, make sure they're horizontal. And in here we'll just kind of mix green, orange together. Okay, I see some nice reds up in here. Okay, let's mix up a little bit, kind of a violet color. Alizarin crimson, we've got white in there so far. Tiny bit of Payne's gray. Start to maybe work some of the lighter areas in foreground here. Alright, let's take some of these oranges and mix them with some whites. A little more red, make them a little more pinkish. And we're just going to touch it in some of these areas, and then we'll kind of brush it up a little bit, but some of these areas just need a little bit of this color here. And we'll just take the fan brush. Now, these ones will just painterly. So we just take the knife and very quickly wipe the knife every time. Wipe the knife. Wipe the knife. Alright, now take the fan brush. Some greens. And let's take the palette knife. And we'll take this green, a little more green in here. And we'll take the palette knife very quickly and lightly. And we're taking some of this palette knife here and just touching it here and there. And then just give it a little swipe. Alright, let's go back up in the trees here. Got some greens. Kind of just twisting the brush. We've got greens on one side and we've got oranges on the other. Kind of alternate. Let's just take a few blues on the very end of a brush here. This is a filbert brush, but just on the very end of it, a couple darker blues right up around the tops of the branches that are real thin. You'll find that even when you'll take a look up in the sky, around the tops of the trees, the sky color gets darker around the leaves that are just real thin. You see the sky color through the leaves, and there'll be a little darker blue between them. So we'll add a little of that in there. Just on the edges of these trees, some real light touches. We're going to take the palette knife. There's some places in here that are just some really deep color. We'll just touch here and there. We'll put some lighter yellow in there and maybe a little bit of green on the other side of the palette knife, and we'll just here and there touch it. And then I'm going to take some couple yellow. We'll blend that in a minute. There we go. Back to more orange. Green. Just tapping it. Now I'll take some brush action. Some brush and work in here too. Alright, now I'll take some more yellow. and mix that in with just the tiniest bit of green. Just a touch of red. We'll mix a little more white with those reds. A real light pink. Now we'll mix some yellow in there and some green. Take a little brush with some darks on it here. Clean the bristle brush off just a little bit, and we'll soften these up a little. And we'll mix up some more of this foreground color. Put some whites in there. I think we want some more violets. Okay, we're just going to take that color, mix it with some whites. Wipe the brush, or wipe the palette knife every time. Now take some of this green, do the same. Some of this reds and orange, do the same. And wipe the palette knife, wipe it every time. Okay, through the magic of filmmaking, I've mixed up some more greens here. And I want to use these greens in the areas where these shadows are on the grass. And maybe we need a little bit more Payne's Gray in there to make these nice and dark. And maybe I'll put a little bit of alizarin crimson. That darkens it up. And we'll soften those up just a little bit. And we need some more of that right in here. Let's soften that up. All right, now let's put some light reds in there. We'll soften those up in a minute. Some of that dark green. A little more alizarin crimson in that green. And we'll soften those up a little bit. Now take a fan brush. And then a palette knife again, just in a couple places, just so it is different texture here and there. Now take again the really messy bristly brush, put it into the dark. More of those darks in here. And there's darker greens. And some oranges. All right, some more of this lighter color. Well, I like that. All right, let's bring our attention back up into the trees. Okay, now let's take the rigger again and get a really wet, juicy dark. We're going to reinforce again some of these tree trunks and branches that we've lost, but just in places. And let's try some of that with a palette knife. Soften some of these up a little bit. Okay, let's turn our attention to the water. Put some deeper blues. Mix that with some violets. Okay, we're going to take just a little tiny bit of this violet. Just touch there. Tiny touch right here. And just take the palette knife. And let's kind of smooth these out just a little bit with the palette knife. And we want to wipe it every time. Strengthen up a couple of these darks. Just try to calm this little piece down right here. Just a quick. Just a couple little darks. And maybe a little darker area right down in here. Give these Russian olives a little bit more shape. And just a touch with a palette knife here. Nice clean palette knife. Well, I think that's good enough for now. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, hit that like button. I'm Stephen Rathburn. Thanks for watching.